Hey, time for another out of this world story from our space. Literally 20 minutes out of the divorce conversation with my wife. Male, 34, female, 37. We've been married for 11 years, no kids. Both have been going through depression, and it's driven a wedge. She has bipolar disorder, and it's been a struggle for years. She has also been battling alcoholism for the second half of her marriage. Me working nights and us being ships passing in the night doesn't help either. Today, she wanted to have the talk. She wanted an open marriage. She'd been talking to someone. We discussed all this before we were married. I'm more traditional and was not okay with it. I let her know I didn't think less of her for feeling that way, but I didn't want it. That was the deciding thing. She felt like being tied down wasn't the life she wanted and felt she had been lying to herself and trying to be happy in the marriage. We have a mortgage and bills are in both our names. I pay everything, monetarily, but she physically pays them. Except her car payment, but I'm on the loan for her. She doesn't want the house. I want to stay in it. She said she's not going to contest anything. I'm a bit in shock. I have two friends that went through divorce, but we're text buddies. I hardly see them. I literally work nights in manufacturing and sleep during the day. I don't have a life. I feel overwhelmed. I don't even know who my electric provider is. Update. Rough patch and an extramarital date. My wife of 11 years is going through a pretty serious bout of depression. It is in no small part due to our lack of communication. Me working nights and 70-hour weeks and her working days. She wanted to take a break, not break up. Just a little time apart to clear her head and reconnect with herself. She has been in and out of the house for the past week, halfway here and at a girlfriend's house. She did tell me she had been texting someone else, but it wasn't serious. We agreed to terms of the break. No sleeping around. She had also brought up that she had thought about an open marriage, which later she withdrew because she was drunk when she said that. Come to yesterday. She was supposed to come to the house because we both had the day off. She texted me and said she got a late start but was having lunch. An hour later, she responded to my, "Are you bailing on me?" with, "I make the movies. It'll be a couple of hours." She told me she was there with the girlfriend. Hours later, she texted an apology and said she was back at the friend's house napping on the couch. Finally came over around 6 p.m. She told me she had went to lunch and then movies with the guy she texted. She didn't want to tell me then because she thought it would be a blow-up and she couldn't do that in public. I checked her account and there was only a soda charge. So he paid for lunch and the movie. She came back without the doubt about us she had throughout the week. It was a renewed commitment on making us work. And all the doubt about what the plan was, because everything was in limbo, was gone. The guy she went on the date with was a coworker. He's 10 years our junior. He's married, and they've been through their own stuff. She said they talked a lot, and she got a perspective from a guy not in the marriage who's been through similar things. And here it is. I had to ask, and she promises nothing happened. It was strictly platonic. We did draw the line, and I believe she held to it. I want to believe the silver of doubt is just my anxiety and paranoia over the past week creeping through. It would be easier to let it go and move forward. I guess I'm just looking for an outside perspective on this. Something that isn't just, she got her cheating out of her system, bro. Update. 1 to help cheating spouse during split. 1 to cut it off. I kicked my cheating wife out a few weeks ago and I'm working on pushing the divorce forward. She has asked me for help with random things throughout this. She doesn't have a job. Today she asked me to set up a MacBook with software she needs. I guess she found a job? I really want to tell her to pound sand, but I've tried to keep it amicable. I've reached the stage of anger, though, in this process. I really want to be done being her go-to for that stuff. She doesn't deserve it. Let's get some community reactions. Lump Butt Cat says, "This is hard and something you will deal with for a while, especially if you co-parent and want to remain amicable. So what I had learned is to help by referring other options. My ex asked me to fix something of hers after divorce and after being amicable co-parents. I said in a nice way, call, like, he's very capable, responsive, and reasonably priced. If she asks about the MacBook, tell her to get back to her, Google something, and text, call, like, it's a next door nearby." Menzel McPrush says, "Today she asked me to set up a MacBook. Didn't she want a new boyfriend? Tell her to go ask him." Jiu-Jitsu's Life chimes in, "Like you said, she doesn't deserve it. Also, she needs to live on her own because if you need help, I promise you she won't be there. Don't have to be mean or rude, but tell her both of you need to start learning how to be independent." JD9999 chimes in, "I was amicable and helped out until the divorce was final and then went no contact. My ex is very similar and asking me for help with things every other day even though she left out of the blue and moved in with a fair barter. The one time I got mad about something and told her to ask her new boyfriend for something, she threatened to take me to the cleaners in divorce court. So, had to go back to being Mr. Helpful. After divorce was finalized, she was shocked we weren't going to remain friends. The delusion and narcissism some people possess is unbelievable." Update. How much proof is enough? I guess it's subjective. But I think my wife cheated on me. She swears nothing happened. We've had a bit of a rough patch. She told me she had been texting someone, a coworker, but that it wasn't anything serious. She lied to me about going to lunch in the movies with this person, mid-December. He drove. Don't know if anything else happened that day. He's married, but his wife moved ahead of him cross-country. He's here finishing up things before he headed out. He is gone now. I know this factually. She told me she's had minimal contact with him since the lunch movies. She also told me that some of the texts had been a little inappropriate and deleted them. Tonight, she had been drinking and left her phone on the counter tonight. I glanced at it, and it was text between the two of them. I could tell the texts had been deleted recently because context and time gaps between the messages. A couple that made me raise an eyebrow was the "not message her," and her reply, "Sorry, didn't think you was too explicit." That was exchanged today. Another was, "I work nights, so I sleep in another room most of the time. I got a new bed in the master and moved back in full time," and she texted him, "First time sharing a room with someone in 6 years. Other than, well." This to me is pretty compelling. I want to believe her when she says nothing happened, but I just don't. I haven't seen anything explicit, but what does it take? If she says nothing happened, but I'm seeing these messages, and her lying about not doing lunch movie with him, where do I go with this? If I confront her, how does she explain it away? Edit. Got the proof I was looking for. She screwed around with him. It's over. I'm out. First reaction from her nerfer. She lied to me about going to lunch the movies with this person. This alone would be enough for me. I have no issues with my significant other having friends of the opposite sex, but when they started going on little dates with them and not telling you, that crosses a line in my opinion. Alternative Wing 922 says, they have both been texting inappropriately as she had to delete some texts. Why are they still talking to each other anyway? They're both married and basically seem to be having an emotional affair right in front of you. Tell her she needs to cut this guy out and stop texting him. Quahog 1945 says, if she was alone with him and his wife was gone, you can rest assured that they have stooped. You already know that she has no problem lying to you, and she's been deleting selected texts. On to the next story. I caught him talking to several women online, and he blamed it all on alcohol. Me and my ex-boyfriend, 37, have been dating for around 4 months. He was the one who initiated the whole thing after we met in a business environment where he liked me. He was thinking whether to contact me or not because he didn't know if I was single or not, and was even asking his friends their opinions about it. So when he finally did, we hit it off right away. Everything was going so well in the beginning. He was really happy, saying that he still couldn't believe that I'm his girlfriend. Don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but yes, was quite a good catch for him and the best he ever had. He even introduced me to his family that lives abroad. We come from different countries and he had moved to mine a few months before I met him. He was so excited that he showed my pictures to all of his friends who live abroad and then would show me how they had reacted to the news. After around a month and a half, he started to behave strangely, was no longer giving me compliments, was emotionally unavailable, and would shut down when I was trying to have a conversation about his behavior. Even though I tried many times to talk things over and was asking if there was something wrong or something he didn't like, but he would always say that there was nothing to worry about, and I should have stopped complaining. After a while, I couldn't go like that anymore because clearly he was getting less and less attentive towards me. So I broke up with him after my attempts to save the relationship didn't work out. But he managed to get me back in around 2 weeks after confessing that alcohol was his huge problem and his strange behavior could be explained with that. I knew he could drink a lot since he comes from a big drinking culture, but didn't know it was so serious that he would stay up all night and just drink alone, so I think he was just dramatizing it. But I had noticed an empty bottle of gin at his place, so was really suspicious about drinking issues. However, I chose not to bring it up yet. He promised he would work on his problem and make things better, so I gave him a chance. After that, he was really attentive and it seemed like things were getting better and better. We spent New Year's together and exchanged nice gifts, etc. He was making plans with me to go to different places and so on. But there was one thing I always found suspicious, that he was always taking his phone whenever he'd go to the bathroom, or if I'd be distracted with something else, he'd take it out and go through it at the time. I have never thought of going through his phone until that morning. I was staying over, and I noticed that he went to shower, while left his phone to charge. I was feeling guilty for doing that, but I wanted to calm myself down. So I went through it, and within 5 to 10 minutes I found out. Him texting to his ex, who is as old as him and lives in a different country. He was calling her Beatty and asking her to join him for his future trip to South America, where he had to go due to his work. It seemed like they hadn't been in touch for a long time since he was asking her how was life and all personal questions. Then I also saw some random girl he barely knows and has never seen and doesn't even follow her on Instagram. This conversation was on Instagram. She was telling him she would like to meet up at a ski resort where he was going a few weeks after. I couldn't join since I had to work, so he was going alone or with his friend. And he had agreed to see her. And one more, he was replying to some girl's almost naked story picture and saying that she was sexy. I was literally shaking from shock, and when I confronted him, he repeatedly kept blaming it all on alcohol, and that second girl had texted him herself, like he couldn't have just blocked her if he didn't want her to text. I didn't let him fool me and just left. He kept texting me that day, giving silly excuses and again saying that he was drunk, and there was no way you would be meeting with any of those women or cheat on me. Like he hadn't already cheated. But I told him it's all over and that he can't be trusted, so I stopped and he hasn't texted since. I think he had always been texting either random women or the ones from his past, but this was the first time I caught him since I snooped. I feel devastated. Can't believe how he could disrespect me after having so many good moments, and we had discussed cheating and texting other people before, and he knew my opinion about it. He's the type of person that looks very innocent and appears to be very kind and friendly, so I would never have thought that he was capable of such. By the way, I missed one major red flag. Every few weeks after we started dating, a woman reached out from a country where he had used to live before coming to mine, and she seemed very upset and was saying that my boyfriend is not monogamous, and that he hurt her not a long time ago when they were dating, and he is not the person who he tries to seem, and that I need to be careful. But I ignored her since my boyfriend convinced me that she was just jealous and wanted to ruin things for us. Was I right to leave? What would you have done in my place? Reading other people's opinions about it really helps. It's been almost a month and I can't stop thinking about it. Our first reaction comes from Theory O Away. He blamed it on alcohol. Really? Does anyone buy that? You were right to leave. It may be tough now, but be strong and move on. DOP responded, thanks, I really needed to hear this. Sometimes my mind forgets all the bad things and only remembers the good, since I miss him from time to time. Quahog 1945 says, alcohol doesn't alter a person's basic character. It simply relaxes their inhibitions. If he didn't want to talk with these women, he wouldn't use alcohol. Don't allow him to blow smoke up your butt. He's a cheat. Our last reaction comes from new to this kind of stuff. Yes, you were right to leave. Blaming it on alcohol consumption was just an excuse for it to happen again. Had boyfriend's ex contact me and tell a similar story. I should have listened to her. Turns out, he had been supporting her for over a year. Why my bills went to collections? I'll be believing the next woman that gives me dirt.